Not in London, we're in Manchester, but it feels like we're in London with the nice weather we've got.
Very nice, isn't it?
Manchester's usually doom and gloom, but it's absolutely booming up here. I don't know what it's like in other parts of the country, but the weather is very, very nice. Manchester United face Crystal Palace away at Selhurst Park. It's a super, super tough game. We have a decimated squad. Going to give you an injury update in a second, but welcome everyone on this lovely bank holiday, and welcome Kev as well.
Thank you very much, Beth, and hello to all the viewers. Hope you're having a good bank holiday. The big game this evening, can't wait for it. I
mean, Selhurst Park's always been a really tricky fixture for us, even with a full-strength team. We remember the Elise free kick last season. I think it ended 1-1, was it, the game? Was it 1-1? Or did they even beat us?
Beat 2-1, actually, I think.
I don't know what it was, but I know it was a bad day at the office, and it usually is when we go down to Selhurst Park. It's a really tough place for us to go, no matter what, but we're facing this Crystal Palace side with a very, very decimated squad. I mean, I don't actually know who officially is available, but we have got some injury updates. But, I mean, how are you feeling going into the game, Kev?
Really, really nervous. I can't lie. I'd usually, at this stage of the season, I'd probably be well up for it, and I'd be like, you know, looking at the game positivity-wise. But like you say, the injuries absolutely shocking at the minute, and I mean really, really bad injuries. Obviously, Bruno's going to be missing, which I don't think is a major issue, because I think we've all wanted to see a Mason Mount play in his preferred position, but it's the defence, you know, and I know people will use it in defence of Eric Ten Hag and say that the injuries have been shocking, but to add like Harry Maguire and obviously Bruno, and we are down to the bare bones, you know, and this is something that Eric Ten Hag has said recently about the squad. We knew the squad depth isn't there, and we've not been able to deal with these injuries at all, and throw in the style of play, what is it, you know, it's just a good job we've got the FA Cup final to look forward to, because at this stage now, with what is it, like 3 Premier League games left, is there?
Yeah.
You know, when you look at that and you think at this stage of the season now, and the fact that I'm looking, and even our Predictor League, you know, I've never seen United against Crystal Palace, and so many of us, the United fans, that are actually fearing the worst this evening and thinking that Crystal Palace are going to win. Well, it's strange.
Well, honestly, no matter what Man United team is, I always fear Selhurst Park. It's a proper ground, if anyone's been, like proper atmosphere, proper club, and it's a tough place to go. Like, no matter where Palace are, they always make it difficult for us. But we're in a situation where, honestly, at the moment, looking at our injury list, and I don't want to be negative, and looking at where we're at, I don't know if we'll win a Premier League game for the rest of the season. Like, and I'm usually positive, but we both are really. But we've got Selhurst Park tonight. I'm not joking. I generally think it's like a 10% chance that we win that game. I really do think it's going to be a tough ask with the squad. I've got the squad up here that I'm going to read out in a second. Then we've got Arsenal, who are going for the title. I've already said, like, as bad as it is, if it stops City from winning the league, I'd rather Arsenal even win. That's where I'm at, which is horrible to say, but I don't want City to win the league. Then you've got Newcastle, who, yeah, they're hit and miss, but they always seem to have a good game against us. And then you've got Brighton, who are also going to be really, really tough as well. So there's some really tough games coming up there, and there's a decimated squad. And I just think tonight it's just such a big ask. This is the squad so far. And also, by the way, everyone, thank you so much for wishing me well, because I was ill, like back end of last week, kind of into the weekend. I saw all of the messages, and Sam did a great show as well, filling in for me. Really, really good job there. I was the injury / illness curse at Man United came and got me, and I was
it's infectious, isn't it?
I tried my best. It was like, you know, like when Bruno tries to play for everything, I just couldn't make it. So thank you everyone for wishing me well. I really do appreciate that. But the full squad tonight, Bruno is not made it, which is breaking really. Bruno Fernandes misses his first game ever at club level through injury.
It's pretty incredible.
That's when you know it's bad, when the robot breaks down.
Yeah.
So it's Anana, Bayinde, Heaton, Dallo, Wan-Bissaka, Evans, Armas, Amrabat, Mainu, Casemiro, Mount, Garnacho, Anthony, Ahmad, Højlund, Wheatley, Jackson, Ogunye and Collier. So we are decimated. The only fit centre-back we have in that squad is Evans, and even him, I'm hearing it's a risk to put him in there.
It's a huge, huge risk, but You know, I was just hoping this week we'd have got some kind of positivity regarding the injuries. And it's just gone full circle to have like Maguire and Fernandes ruled out today. I just wanted to, I want to hear, like, obviously Luke Shaw is back in training, but I think all eyes really for a United fan now are at the end of the month against Manchester City, and you are kind of looking at that and thinking, just praying that we can get, you know, a steady back four, maybe a Varane back. I just don't know. But this week, what a sucker punch, you know, to be hearing that there's more injuries. But on Bruno, I don't think that's as much as a huge miss as what some people would think. And because I say that earlier, I think a lot of people have maybe wanted to see a Mason Mount in that role. You know, this is, if it is going to be the number 10 role, I don't think that's a huge issue. It's more at the back for me.
I disagree with you that it's a huge miss, and the reason being is Bruno is on a really good vein of form. I think he'd scored in his last 6 games, I think it was.
Yeah.
And he's picked up a really good vein of form, and he was kind of one of the only players, him and Maguire were the only ones that were really standing out. So I feel like to miss them, I actually do think it's a massive miss. I know what you're saying, people do want to see Mason Mount play. Mason Mount's been injured. I mean, what I've heard is it'll be a struggle for him to complete 30 minutes tonight.
Yeah.
Like, that's an issue. So I do think when you're losing your captain, it's always going to be a big miss. But like you said, in this sort of game, any team is going to struggle in where we're at the moment. But what I'm thinking is the amount of people that have slated Bruno across the season and said how much better we'll be without him.
Well, I was just going to say, they will get to see this evening. I was going to mention Ricky and that, you know, they're always banging this drum that, you know, let's mix it up, take Bruno out of the team. We'll see this evening, won't we? You know, we'll see exactly what he does kind of bring to this team. It could work both ways. Mason Mount could play, and I know Ricky likes somebody who keeps the ball, you know, not really a risk taker in that area, so we'll just have to see. But for me, the defence is the huge headache when you're looking at a Johnny Evans. And don't get me wrong, I think he's been really good for United. But when we're at this stage of the season and we're kind of pinning our hopes on him, thinking hopefully he can play. But the big question will be, can he play? Can he play half of football? Can he play 60 minutes? You know, Eriksen's the same. We have this conversation a lot. You know, if he starts, he's not going to finish. But we're just down to the bare bones that much. We need to start him.
Six teenagers in the squad for Manchester United as well. Erik ten Hag described it earlier this week, Kev, that he's in his whole managerial career, he's been managing for over 10 years, or just about 10 years. Over 10 years, I think it is. In his whole managerial career, he's never seen anything like this, and he says he hopes he'll never see it again in another 10 years. He described it as really bad luck. I'm going to be honest, where we're at now, I don't think you can just say it's bad luck.
No.
Like, we had, like, you know it's not just bad luck when even Bruno Fernandes can't make it, who is literally always fit and always available. There is something going wrong behind the scenes, isn't there? Or do you think it's a hangover from the amount of games we played last season? We played the most amount of games last season, I think it was, in the Premier League.
We did. I spoke earlier about squad depth. Manchester United should be in a position where, you know, a lot of people have said that Bruno's played far too much football, but are we really in a position to be resting players? You know, we've kind of staggered through this season. He's never really had his strongest 11, a few games, but you're talking 60+ injuries. I know some of them are noted on a player like Martial makes up a hell of a lot of them injuries, but it's still players that, if they were fit and raring to go, they will make, they make the team better. But you have to look at it, even to the days of Sir Alex Ferguson. I remember having this conversation about the injuries. So there is, whether it's the medical department or I'm sure Ineos, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, that they have to be looking at something like this. It cannot be bad luck. And I've heard a lot of people on social media today, you know, oh, it's all Ten Hag's fault. And I'm like, seriously, what? Oh, he's training them too hard, you know, and stuff like this. And I'm like, I don't see that.
Well, the reason why I don't think that is because, like, Ten Hag's managed Ajax, you know, he's managed multiple teams across his career, and I went and looked back his time at Utrecht and also at Bayern B team, and like he's never had a situation where like the injuries are like this. Yeah. He's not suddenly just started overly training players at this point in his career at Manchester United. I think it's a mixture of things. I think over the course of our recruitment, we haven't recruited physically top athletes really at the elite level. I think that's an area that we need to look at when we're looking at our recruitment. I also think last season, you know, the amount of games we played probably has taken a toll on a lot of the squad. I also agree with the fact, I saw Ben Foster and Mark talking about this, sometimes when you're having a bad season, players, you do get more injuries. You know, if United were in a title race, would we really have as many injuries as we do now? That's another thing that kind of comes into question. And I also think our medical department is poor. I'm going to be honest, I've told the story so many times on the show, but I, from university, know physios that have worked at different football clubs, and they've said the state of Manchester United is just not at, it's not even on a patch on a Man City. You know, from even sort of Cristiano Ronaldo's parting shot when he left United, you know, he did mention the likes of Carrington and the facilities and stuff. So it's nothing that we didn't know. You know, this has gone on for years. If you neglect a club, the facilities, you know, the ground, everything's kind of just been left. But yeah, you'd think surely, you know, the medical department is such a huge thing. You know, you want these players fit. You need to have the best facilities. So if they've neglected that side of it and United have fallen behind, which they have massively, then it's a huge, huge thing. But I mean, is it down to Erik ten Hag? Does anybody think that he's actually training the players too hard? We don't know what's going on behind the scenes, do we? No. So it's just guesswork.
Or is it because we've had so many managers in such a relatively short space of time that other managers, you know, the intensity level wasn't there? So then when you get a Ten Hag who comes in, maybe some of these players that played under Solskjaer and that, are, you know, they're not able to do it. I do think as well we have quite a few injury-prone players as well. Oh, yeah. And that plays a part. The defence is massive for that. It's like, you know, you look at the likes of like Dallo, who's literally not been injured like all season, and there is like Garnacho who's barely been injured at all. I don't think Bruno's another one of them. There is players there that, you know, are just not injury prone, and they're great to have in and around your squad. But we do have players that are injury prone. Luke Shaw's one. Sadly, it's looking like Lisandro Martinez might be one. Well, that Harry Maguire's gone that way, really, didn't it? Yeah. And he's been one of our best performers this season, and it's such a shame. He might be able to make the FA Cup final, but I think we're in a situation, like you said, we're going to talk about the Palace game now, but we're in a situation where important players now, don't rush them back, don't rush Martinez back, don't rush Varane back. He did that last time with Martinez. Don't rush Shaw back. Let's just make sure we have the best team available ready for the FA Cup final. That's what we're looking at, aren't we? We're looking towards that anyway. It's just building, and because against a Manchester City, you need your strongest 11 out to give yourself half a chance, and even then, every one of them players is going to have to, you know, have the game of their life. But they are capable of doing it, but we need the strongest 11 out. You know, that would be a worry going into an FA Cup final. You seen what City did yesterday. You know, they can score goals for fun. You know, having a Casemiro at centre back against a Haaland, you know, it wouldn't kind of fill you with much going into that game. But we'll just have to say, I really hope, you know, I'm living sort of week by week at the minute, and just hoping to get some positive news on players coming back, the likes of a Luke Shaw, you know, even Varane or whoever it'll be, Martinez. The moment it just feels like, you know, we need to kind of close this season. Like, I've never been excited for a season to end, but I'm not going to lie, I am. Yeah. Close this season off, rehash, start again next season, hopefully get all the players back fit. We do have an FA Cup final to play for, of course. I want to win that. I want everyone to be on top form for that, and that's just, you know, 90 or even 120 minutes of football. Yeah. Play the best that you possibly can, and, you know, you never know what can happen. There's always a chance. But and a huge summer for recruitment. This is, you know, one of the biggest. If Ineos want to stamp down their authority, if they're going to stick with Ten Hag, you know, are they going to make that change? None of us really know at this moment in time. It could go either way. It could be another like Louis van Gaal. You know, Ten Hag could win the FA Cup, you know, and be sacked shortly after it, which would seem harsh. But the new people are in there, and Bayern Munich might be looking to snap him up. From what we've seen. Get your head around that. It's mad, isn't it? Yeah. It's mad. Anyway, this is about the Crystal Palace game. We've got loads of time to talk about that this week and stuff like that. But we've got some super chats in. JJK YouTube, welcome to the United Stand Members Club. Thank you for that. Quinn Star says, may I have to send my 7 kids to play tonight? Lol. 7 kids. Respect to you. Respect to you. I was going to get my boots out. I thought I might get down there to Selhurst Park this evening. I might get a run out. Have you seen that thing going around Twitter where it's like Erik ten Hag and he's
playing days was a centre-back. Someone was like, Ten Hag needs to be a player manager, you know, like Ryan Giggs, kind of style. Gary R says, hi Beth, good to see Kev on the show, brings a bit of humour. Come on, United 3-0. You're being positive.
Wow.
I love it. Sashin Murthy says, do a predicted lineup, Beth and Kev. We could do that actually. We could go through what we think it will be. So it'll be an Anna in goal.
Yeah.
I assume full-backs it'll be Wan-Bissaka and Dalot.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Centre-backs Casemiro and Evans.
Yeah. I'd be happy with that, yeah. I can't see him... Casemiro's done all right at centre-back. I can't imagine... I don't know, is there an Amrabat or, you know...
That might be the slowest centre-back partnership in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Casemiro and Evans.
And when you're playing against a team like Palace that are certainly quick, it's like...
As much as I love Evans... And I do, because he's been so much better than what I thought it would be, and I think he's been a top pro. Casemiro and Evans centre-back partnership is slow.
It doesn't fill you with much confidence, but at the same time, you've got a hell of a lot of experience there. You know, in a Johnny Evans, and I know, like, if you obviously Maguire was fit, you'd be going with Johnny Evans and Maguire, which I wouldn't have a problem with. They played a lot of games together at Leicester. They've done well this season when they're called upon, but. Casemiro, like you say, like I say, he's got a Johnny Evans next to him, hasn't he? So experience-wise.
Just got some breaking news coming in from Rob Dawson, and it is that Mason Mount is set to start tonight for Manchester United, which we were just about to move on to the midfield, and I think that was a good place to start because I was going to put him in my starting lineup. So do you think, Kev, it'll be Mainu, Amrabat and Mount, or do you think it'll be Mainu, Eriksen and Mount?
I would go with Mainu, Amrabat and Mount. I keep banging this drum every week, and I just think Amrabat's coming towards the end of his kind of loan deal. You know, it's kind of one of them, are we going to make it permanent or whatever? But at the same time, I kind of feel sorry for him. I know he's been out a bit, but very rarely plays in his preferred position. We've seen him cover at left back earlier on in his career at Manchester United, and I just think we're screaming out for legs in that midfield. Obviously, Eriksen hasn't got that. Mainu looks exposed, whoever he plays with. Even putting Casemiro next to him sometimes leaves him exposed. So why not play Amrabat with Mainu? Sure, we keep saying you need somebody with legs in that midfield, and what's the worst that could happen? Yes,
chat just came in there. Nis Garde says Eriksen has one good half in him. Do you know what Eriksen, when he's come back into the team, he's done decently well. Physicality has never been a strong point for him. Amrabat, though, he's just barely played any football. I don't mind which one he goes for, to be honest with you. I think away at Crystal Palace, maybe the nod should go to Amrabat, and then you can bring Eriksen off the bench, like you said. But I'm just super, super happy that Mason Mount gets a start.
Yeah.
And I think he's got a massive point to prove. I know it's late doors in the season, but this, again, is a big game. I know I was speaking negatively before about how I do think we'll struggle for the remaining games that we have and with the decimated squad that we have. But I was told to bring this up by producer to be a bit more positive. Spurs can't stop losing. Ange was going to win the title a few months ago. Maddison was better than Bruno a few months ago. Now he's on the bench, and when he's coming on, God, he looked really poor the other day. And I do still think Maddison's a good player, but people get so excited over hype and recency bias and stuff like that. You've got to do it consistently for me. But Manchester United are on 54 points, have played 34 games. Tottenham, who are in 5th, are on 35 games played, and they're on 60 points. So, you know, it's mad because...
And look at the drop-off there, right? You're on about people banging that drum for Ange at like Spurs. And you do get that new manager bounce. You know, there were so many people at that time actually trying to compare him to a Ten Hag and saying, oh, look at what he's done in such a short space of time at Spurs. You know, he's got him playing football and this and that. But there has been a huge drop-off. And that same energy that is used on Erik Ten Hag, obviously, I think we'll speak about the interview later on with, like, Gary Neville. Ten Hag comes out, you know, where's the same energy for, you know, for Ange there at Tottenham? You know, he's going through a rough time at the minute. Liverpool have dropped off massively. They're going to end the season, with a Carabao Cup? You know, this is Klopp's, like, last season or whatever, and fair enough, don't get me wrong, I'd love to be in that position that they're in at this moment in time, but Ten Hag just gets it from every single angle of the media.
Hated, adored, never ignored,
That's the one, Beth.
And
love it.
To be honest, I'm going to be honest, I actually think I actually really like Ange Postecoglou. I think he's a very likeable character. I do think his style of play has been found out a bit, which is why...
And that's where you have to mix it up then, because if people get onto that, they know how to play against you.
They are an
entertaining
team, but entertaining football doesn't always win football games, and they have kind of had such a good start and then they've completely declined. But like you said, the noise is nowhere near as what it is around Manchester United, because the expectation just isn't there as high as well. But tonight, Mason Mount, hope he does well. Massive opportunity for him. I honestly think, I don't know if Amrabat will play, but I think Amrabat, someone in the chat just said it then, is Amrabat the Sabitzer of this year, where goes under the radar, goes underappreciated, and then he might go to another club and do really well. Because I did honestly think Amrabat was a good player before he came to Man United. And I remember speaking to Romano about him, and Romano said he was so highly respected in Italy. He's like a machine. He's a brilliant midfielder. And then he came to United and got put in injured at full-back, and then kind of just had a couple games, but never really kicked on.
He's very rarely been played in that position that he wants to play, in fairness.
And the only game he did that was Liverpool, and we ended up drawing 0-0 at Anfield, didn't we? And we did shut up shop. It's an interesting
Which,
one.
on reflection, was a good result at that time. We knew we couldn't go toe-to-toe with a team like Liverpool. We went out, we annoyed a few Scousers, that was great. You know, they were all carrying on saying it was awful and Man United have killed football, and they come here and what more could we do?
Van Dijk in his interview afterwards saying only one team came to win.
It said more, do you know what? It said more about Liverpool at that time, you know, because they were trying to just spin it on us and say, it's your fault coming playing, you know, defensive football. Well, try and break us down. That says more about where they were at that time. You couldn't beat United.
Took 4 points off them in the league, which was lovely stuff, and derailed their season of going on to win the Premier
we're
League.
in their head. Since we drew at Old Trafford with them in the league, they've just dropped off.
And knocked them out the cup as well. Lovely stuff.
Yeah.
You know, really good game. So yeah, we did our part in Klopp's final season. Got some super chat in. Thiago Brown used Bruno all the way till he got hurt long term. This is the thing. Even though I do back Ten Hag, I'm allowed to criticise him. That's one thing I will call him out on. Bruno just playing every single minute God sends, and now he's out injured. It's like, manage his minutes.
Yeah.
We've got Mason Mount.
Yeah.
We've got Christian Eriksen.
Regardless of whether he's captain or not, you know, first name on the team sheet or whatever, totally agree. You know, even if you're in a position where the job's done, I don't know, you're 2-3-0 up in a game, which is a rarity for United, but
Never happens.
To be able to take a Bruno off, you know, let him have a breather, even to start Mount.
Even if you're drawing or losing, don't be afraid. As much as I love Bruno and I think he's so crucially important to our team, I'm so glad it got clarified that he is staying at Manchester United today. I rate him so highly. Like, you know, Pep's not scared to take De Bruyne off.
Yeah.
Ange isn't scared to take Son off. Klopp isn't scared to take Salah off. I mean, sometimes you do have to make some changes. No player is untouchable, and I just think managing for his own health and well-being and fitness as well. Got some more super chats in. Get in the comments as well. Who do you think will be captain tonight? Team news officially out in 5 minutes. Fergie's Red Nose says FA Cup only path to Europe. Play the youth tonight. That's not actually true. We do have a lot to play for in the league. It's just we've got tough fixtures. You know, we're not that far off points-wise. Spurs who are in 5th, to be honest. But
what, we're 6 points off Spurs?
Yeah, and we've got a game that we're playing tonight. So if we won tonight, we'd only be 3 points behind them. They've got City to play, and you know, we've got some tough games as well, of course. But Spurs and United are actually going to be big deciders in the title race. Yeah. Both of them against City and Arsenal. So it's not the only way we can get Europe, but for me, it's looking like the more likely option. Like, when I'm looking at it now and thinking beating Man City in a one-off game is more likely than getting Europe through the rest of the Premier League games, that's when we know we've got an issue. Yeah. We've got the Wally says, who is going to be captain now Bruno is not playing? Who do you reckon will be captain, Kev?
That's an interesting call, that. Well, obviously, I need to know the team first. Could it be a Johnny Evans?
I was thinking,
if he starts,
I think it'll be either Evans or Casemiro.
Yeah. I think you definitely need... I personally would... I can't believe I'm actually here. What year is it, man? I'm just talking about Johnny Evans starting at United again. Captain. Yeah, Johnny Evans. I think you've got the experience, leadership. He's done the job before, and it's such a vital part of the team. You know, he sees everything that's in front of him as well. So he's certainly a player that I think he'd command respect. Surely the younger players would kind of look up to somebody like that as well, because he's been there, he's done it, hasn't he?
Let's run a poll. Who will be captain tonight? We'll have the options because a lot of people are saying Dalot as well, which also would be a good shout. But I think with Casemiro and Evans on the pitch, you won't get the nod. But we'll do the options of who do you think should be captain? Evans, Casemiro and Dalot will put in the options. All I think are good options. If I was picking, I'd probably go with Evans or Dalot. I mean, Casemiro also is, you know, he's won everything in the game, but I'm thinking someone who can communicate to the whole team.
That's what it has to be. And it's a lovely shout with Dalot as well. He's had a fantastic season, arguably probably United's player of the season. You know, Mr. Consistency, he's been absolutely top-notch. So that would be a nice kind of token gesture if he did have it. But if we're talking about leadership skills, Johnny Evans has to be.
Corey Leneker says, hey Beth and Kev, coming to Manchester for the match on Sunday from the States. Any chance of a studio tour? Viva la Van Cams. Direct message me and I'll see what I can do. But have a lovely trip over, coming for the Arsenal game. And you know what, you bring in the weather with you as well, because I've looked at the weather forecast.
It's supposed to be nice.
It's going to be sunny day at Old Trafford on Saturday. I'm excited for it, so hopefully we'll see you there. But front three, I think it'll be Garnacho, Højlund, Anthony, won't it? Yeah. Ahmad will get some time off the bench, probably. Yeah,
well, there's obviously a shout for him starting games, but he's, if you try to get into the head of Erik ten Hag, I think that would be the three that he's going to go with. He's shown a lot of trust in Anthony, hasn't he? Really. You know, he keeps kind of bringing him in, and a lot of us are like, why not give Ahmad a start? But I can't see him doing it, just can't.
Well, he did score in his last Premier League game, Anthony, to be fair.
He did all right.
Yeah, he's done all right since he's come in. To be fair to Anthony, he got so much stick, didn't he? And I feel like recently, ever since that Chelsea game, he's played better than, apart from that Coventry cameo, that was pretty poor. But he's played a lot better than what we've seen earlier on in the season. I
think we just expect, as fans, we expect a hell of a lot more. Because I've just said that word, he's been all right, you know, and you've agreed, and then you think,
the standards are so low because we've not seen much.
I'm like, is all right? Is that really, you know, where we're at with Manchester United at the minute, where we're kind of saying he did all right today? You know, there's levels and there's a mentality thing at Manchester United where that everybody just needs to step up big time.
I do think Anthony deserves to start though, based off recent performances, and I know a lot of people love.
Well, like you say, you mentioned the goal that he scored as well. You know, it's all about kind of trying to build on that from now till the end of the season, really. A
lot of people love Ahmad, and I am one of them people. I think he deserves more time, but I think off the bench just as long as he's getting a decent amount of time off the bench, I think is great stuff. So the lineup is out, Kev.
Here we go.
We'll go into the subs in a second, but the lineup is Onana in goal, Wan-Bissaka, Casemiro, Evans and Dalot as the back four. Midfield three is Mainu, Eriksen and Mount.
Right.
So Eriksen does stay. Eriksen, Ricky will tell me till the cows come home. He's been texting me all week saying how good Eriksen's been playing recently, and he's been watching the games back. So I'm going to trust Godfather.
He has been playing well, and I suppose you look at a game where it's been difficult at Selhurst Park. You do need a player in the middle of the park who will at least keep the ball, play the simple passes. Mainu can do that, but Mainu and Eriksen have worked well together. It's this one in front now of Mason Mount, which it could transform, you know, because we're so used to playing with Bruno week in, week out. That's the interesting change for me, is to see how this actually works, them three in that midfield.
A midfield three that can keep the ball. So, you've got Onana, Wan-Bissaka, Casemiro, Evans, Dalot, Mainu, Eriksen, Anthony, Garnacho and Højlund. So we got that predicted lineup pretty much spot on. Bar we said we don't know if it'll be Amrabat or Eriksen, but we said it could be either or. And so we pretty much got that spot on. Rate it out of 10 in the comments and let me know your thoughts on it in the live chat. We'll go through that in a second. But you know, Ricky will be messaging me now saying, yes, 3 midfielders that can keep the ball. He'll be buzzing with that. Yeah. And this is a big test for all of the people out there that keep saying, you know, Bruno needs to sit out a few games. I mean, we're both we're both big Bruno fans, but for the people that are saying that, well, let's see how we perform without him. And it's a huge game for Mason Mount, whose first Premier League start since October the 7th. First Premier League start for Mason Mount since October the 7th. And, Manchester United's number 7, been riddled with an injury all season. It's never too late to kickstart your season. I know, you've got an FA Cup final lineup to try and get into. So,
and that's from a player's point of view now, or even from a fan's perspective, what I want to see these players doing is that surely, to Christ, they know that they've got this FA Cup final coming up. I know you take it one game at a time, but surely you just use these games now as an audition. Even the likes of an Ericsson, who's been at United a bit, he's very, very experienced, but he'll be even thinking that, he's not nailed on 100% to be in the starting 11 come the end of May against Manchester City. So I want to see players take these opportunities, and look at it and think, I want to be in that team. The only way they're going to be able to do that is by, performing in these last few games of the season.
Casemiro gets the captain's armband.
Has he got it? By
the way, yep, Casemiro gets the captain's armband. He was in our list. Let's see what the chat voted for. I mean, we can end the poll. I don't know why the poll results aren't ever coming up on my laptop. I need to get that.
It was disappeared off mine as well.
What was the poll results, Greg? If you've got them, yeah, we've got them here. So Casemiro did actually win in the chat as well. 42% went for Casemiro, 38% went for Evans, and 19% went for Dalot. It is Casemiro, and despite how poor Casemiro has been this season, and let's not get it twisted, he has been bad.
Oh yeah.
Like, he's been poor. He's shown up, and he's playing a position that isn't his usual position, and you can't fault his work ethic and in his mentality. It's just, I think his legs aren't keeping up with his brain now. Yeah, well, you see this with so many players. Even Gary Neville, I remember that time when he has to come off at half time, and Gary Neville said at the time, his mind was telling him what to do, but he said his feet just couldn't do it. And he'd lost a few yards of pace, and that's what's happened at Casemiro. I'm not writing him off 100%. He's got a massive contract at Manchester United, but again, that is one that you would look in the summer and think, if you could shift him on and get some kind of money in, then you would do it. He was absolutely brilliant last season. I thought he was pivotal in getting to them 2 finals, winning one of them. He was absolutely sensational against Newcastle in that final. But there's been a major drop-off, and the concern is when he's playing at centre-back, especially against better teams, is, like you said, he's not actually been playing well when he was playing in his, CDM role. So when you're playing last man then, he's not quick. He's never really been quick. But the system's exposed him as well. This system's massively exposed him. But you know what? You can't fault Ten Hag for putting in his captain tonight. Unbelievably experienced player, won everything there was to win in Spain. Just a shame that he literally went from being up here to down here within the space of a year at Manchester United. In the space of a season.
None of us could have really have seen that coming, because I always say when we actually signed Casemiro, I was on holiday when I heard, and I just absolutely flabbergasted. I couldn't believe that we signed somebody of this kind of stature. But you do kind of look sometimes and you think, well, why did Real Madrid get rid of him? And now when you look at what Real Madrid have done with their squad, I mean, they are ruthless, but they've just got big name, the next big talents, players in roles that could be there the next 10 years. And we brought in players, like a Varane and a Casemiro, who've been brilliant, don't get me wrong. But if you're looking ahead for the future and you want a youthful team, and I'm all for having sort of, youth and experience or whatever.
It's a balance, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It is a balance, because like you're lucky, Real Madrid's midfield, they've got Bellingham, they've got Tchouaméni, they've got Camavinga, they've got Valverde, all young, up and coming, brilliant midfielders, but they also have the experience of Kroos and Modric still around.
Yeah.
And Modric, I saw him come on in the Champions League, and it's like mental how good he's still at, like, what is he, 37? And then you do get the young players in, like the Højlund, the Garnacho, the Mainus, and then you've got Ten Hag in an interview being like, well, it's going to be a longer process with the younger players. I did want Harry Kane, who's more experienced, and it's so it's like trying to get that mix right, because like you say, you do need the youth in there. Of course you do. You need, and it's like opposite ends of the spectrum. You've got the teenagers and early 20s. You need like the 24, the 25, the 26, really, and that's the age spot we need to be hitting at Manchester United. And you need like a balance of experience, but also youth as well. And I think that's something that should be looked at under Ineos. I mean, looking at the bench, I mean, I feel like this is a team sheet that's going to be like screenshotted, and then like in a few years' time, people are going to post it and going to be like, "Can you believe this is what we rocked up to Selhurst Park with?" And this is no disrespect to any of the youth players, because great opportunity for them, and I wish them all the best, and I hope they do progress into the first team. But you've got Bayindir, Heaton, Armas, Jackson, Ogunye, Ahmad, Amrabat, Collier, and Wheatley. I mean, before the start of this season, I think the only ones that really you'd know as senior players, Ahmad, Amrabat, Bayindir, and Heaton. Yeah. That's it. And even Ahmad's like not really been a senior player for too long. That
shows the thing that I said earlier about squad depth more than anything. It's like, what other top club, especially in this country as well, anyway, that would be naming a bench like that? And it's testament. Well, I say testament. It really is down to the horrific injuries that we've had this season, that we've had to call upon these players. But at least there's players. One thing I will say about the players that come through the youth team, at least they get it what it is to play for Manchester United. You can go and spend 70, 80 million on a player who could come and not know what it's about. When you've got a kid that's come through the system, at least they get it. They know what it's all about. And you talk about this thing about playing for the badge and pride, and that them kids that come through, that they appreciate every moment, whether it's coming on for a minute, 2 minutes, whatever it is, starting a game, in comparison to some certain other players at Man United, where you kind of look and think, is your heart really in it? Is it elsewhere?
Yeah, and you know what? We are going to miss Bruno, because that stat I was talking about before. I've just seen it here. Bruno has scored 7 goals in his last 6 appearances in all competitions, so we are going to miss that.
It's the pressing style of. I think a lot of these players, people that say, or fans, and they're like, "Oh, get Bruno out the team. He's rubbish and all that," and you're like, "Right, okay," but. The one thing he does do is set the press. So
form's temporary, class is permanent.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
But he does, and we know that. So I think one thing you will see a slight drop off will be that.
Yeah.
Because he was all over that front three, Bruno. I always say he's like powered by Duracell or something, the way he tears around the pitch. But is Mason Mount capable of doing that, or will it be just a different style of play? Where you look and think.
I think Mason Mount is a great presser, and I think he's absolutely capable of doing it. I think his energy is top. It's just with Bruno, he sets a press, and his energy is really good as well. It's just he's constantly talking to players. He is the captain in and around it in the middle, and you are going to miss that. It's going to be interesting to see. Again,
at the same time, it's a nice experiment because, like you say, Mason Mount spent 50 million on him in the summer. I think 60 was it. We had high hopes for him, didn't we? I think a lot of us were interested to see where does he get into the team. Is he somebody that's going to push Bruno? Does he want that spot? We've seen him come on the left-hand side this season when he scored his goal, and he's not done much wrong. It's just that the injury's been a shocker, and now it's trying to get him into the team.
What's the plan for him? That's what I always ask. What's the plan?
Why have we spent this money on a player that really you looked at the position and you think, well, if it is that 10 role or the Bruno role, you think, it's a hell of a lot of money to spend on somebody that's going to be kind of back up to Bruno.
I originally still think he was supposed to be the 8 to replace Eriksen, 100%. But things could still do that. I still think he could. I think things got hard when the whole team was underperforming. He got injured, vice versa. But anyway, we'll speak about him more as it goes on. We just wish him the best of luck tonight.
Yeah, I am excited.
And also,
I'm getting more excited now. When I first come on, I was a bit like, no. I think there's little things that you can look at there, and certainly it's something just different, isn't it? The fact that Bruno isn't in the team and Mason Mount will play in that position, and I think, at least we get to have a good look and see how United are different without Bruno, because obviously whenever he's fit, he starts every single game.
I'm excited to hear Ricky's thoughts on this. He'll be joining us straight off the back of a stag do in Prague. He'll be here. I also want to wish Bruno Fernandes the speediest of recoveries. Always there for this club, always there for this team. Whether he plays well, whether he has a poor game, he can't fault his commitment to the club. So he must be fully injured tonight to not be there, and I know he'll be so frustrated he's not there. He wouldn't want to lose that record.
First game he's ever missed through, what is it, at pro level or just
club level? Yeah,
it's unbelievable. That. It really is. And that's sometimes you take people for granted, don't you, in all walks of life. But maybe some fans do look at Bruno and just think, oh, he's kind of just part of the furniture because he's just always there. But we will see how it goes this evening without him playing.
Crystal Palace are aiming to do the league double over Man United for the first time. That'd be embarrassing, wouldn't it? That would be embarrassing. And Man United have just won one of their last 6 league games. 4 draws, 1 loss. Like we're saying, don't know if I see us winning any games from now to the end of the season. It's a tough ask. It's a really tough ask. We're just looking forward to the FA Cup final, in my opinion. But, you know, it's a different sort of team tonight. They're under the cosh. You know, you're away. Let's see what these players are made of.
Yeah.
Let's see what they're made of. But we are facing, in Crystal Palace, Kev, somebody who is a big summer target for Manchester United, Michael Olise. Scored that free kick last time we visited Selhurst Park against us. Didn't celebrate. Recently come out that he is a Manchester United fan. Open to joining Manchester United. Manchester United are well in the race to go and buy him for around 60 million. His release clause will be. This is going to be interesting to watch Michael Olise tonight, isn't it? It
is, because the side spin to this game is a player like Olise that the United have obviously been linked heavily with. I don't really see that much of him. It's only these kind of games now where I'll get to see him for, you know, the duration of a game. So as a side spin, hopefully, I hope he has an absolute stinker this evening, you know, and United win. But no, I am interested in that sense to see how he gets on. Because we are being heavily linked, you know, and you look at that side, is it the left-hand side he plays on?
Right-hand side.
Oh, the right-hand side, sorry.
Yeah.
So, yeah, again, you talk about the fee. It's a hell of a lot of money, again, unless there's going to be, I mean, mega changes in that kind of the forward area. You know, the right-hand side, the left-hand side, it's all up for grabs, really, isn't it? But again, the money that you're going to spend on him, would he be a first teamer? Surely it would be. You know, it can't be another Donny van der Beek, another Mason Mount, you know, up to this point where you're spending a hell of a lot of money on somebody that you don't really show much faith in. Well, surely if you go out and spend that money on him, you're thinking, I'm buying him because, you know, he's going straight in on the right-hand side. If
Olise does sign for 60 million, he plays. Yeah. He does. He's a creative winger for our forward players and someone who balances out that front three. You know, Rashford is out injured tonight, but I worry for Rashford in that situation because Garnacho's progressing week in, week out, and Ten Hag clearly really likes him. Yeah. You know, Garnacho then becomes a big threat for Rashford's spot on the left wing because you'll have Olise and probably Anthony fighting out for that right wing spot. Olise will probably play. Yeah. And, you know, you don't spend 60 million on someone for them to sit on the bench. Or maybe you do, because we did with Mason Mount.
Yeah, but that's where something needs to change at United because if we talk about Ten Hag being able to work under this system. So if you're going now to the new, you know, the CEO or whatever in charge, and you're trying to convince them that Olise is the man you want, the first thing that you'd be kicking back on, that you'd be saying, well, it's a lot of money this, you know, well, is he going to be starting? You know, we don't want another, you know, it's a hell of a lot of money to be spending on somebody that, you know, you might think, oh, well, if he can break into the team or...
Olise will start. Looking at the state of our wingers, obviously we've got some wingers that are young, that are progressing, but if you buy Olise, if Olise was there for United now, he'd start. Like, he is a good player.
But then you can look at it and go, well, they could push back again and say to Ten Hag, well, all right, 60 whatever million it's going to be, we'll bring him in. What's the crap with this Anthony? You know, you've spent 90 million on him. You know, you've got 2 players in that position now. You work out how much United have spent possibly on them 2, and you think, well, what are you going to do with Anthony? That's a hell of a lot of money.
Well, I think we just can't get it right with our right wingers. It's been an issue for us for years, and you are right. Like, it is ridiculous the amount of money we've spent. But realistically, you can't just keep playing someone because of the amount of money you've spent on them. I think Olise is more of an Ineos signing, to be honest. Like, since Ineos has come into the club, it's been Olise.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think Ten Hag obviously probably does approve him, but it is the question, like, what does happen to Anthony then? But it also, you know, Anthony needs to play better to get into the team. It's as simple as that. We need to start trying to forget that price tag. Did we overpay on the price tag? Yes, we massively did. That's something we need to just put behind us and stop lingering on now and make sure we don't do it again. With Olise, do I think he's a good player? Yes. Do I think he balances out our attack? Yes. Do I really like him as a player? Yes. What is a big worry for me is injuries, and people will point out that he's only had a certain amount of injuries. People think he's more injury prone than what he is. I get all that, but it's hamstring.
Yes.
Once a player starts having issues, recurring issues with the hamstring, it is an issue, and it's something that recurs and recurs and recurs. Like it's a big issue with footballers when you have a hamstring problem. That's what worries me about Elise. It's the injury thing, because we've already got enough injury-prone players. But
it is the Elise links. It is something interesting, because if they do go through with it, you can see this kind of change at United. It isn't the star name player, the shirt seller. There'll probably be fans of other clubs in other countries won't even know who Elise is. But the fact that United are starting to identify players like that, like I say, it's not somebody that we're going to sign because he's going to sell a certain amount of shirts in a different country or whatever, or it's not a blockbuster name, but it's somebody, like you say, that would fit into this team. And if he's going to rip it up and you want to start, these kind of players bringing in, I think it's a positive. It's something different.
And even though I've always said, I personally, don't think that would be my first signing. It just wouldn't be. But people are pointing out Greenwood's going to go. As much as people might not want him to, he is going to go.
Martial.
Sancho's going to go. Martial's going to go. Does Ahmad have a future under Ten Hag as much as I want him to? Doesn't seem to fancy him. Pelistri's probably going to go. So realistically, you can't just have one player for that spot, especially in Anthony, who's not reached the level we wanted him to yet.
Yeah.
So Elise and Anthony competing for that spot, there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's a good, it's good to have competition.
You want healthy competition, yeah.
So, and you need competition. We can't go into a season like we have today. Our season like we have this year, our front three's underperformed this season. We've not scored enough goals from our front three. We've not created enough chances from our front three. So it is something we need to address, and we are going to have a shift
what's our goal
in that
difference?
position.
Is it +1?
It's terrible. It's
terrible. We're in May.
Yeah.
There's 3 games left on. It's unheard of, man. +1. I don't know.
It's mental, innit, Kev? Also, another player tonight that one second, that will be playing. No, that will be playing. Sorry, another player to watch is he called Adam Wharton? The midfielder, English midfielder. A lot of people are banging on about him, saying he could even be in the England squad, and Gareth Southgate needs to take a look at him because he's doing so well. Adam Wharton, the midfielder for Crystal Palace, he's someone that could cause a few issues. He just looks like he's got a very good all-round game for such a young player. Obviously not playing tonight, but Mark Gahey, he's on the bench for Crystal Palace. He's someone that apparently United are monitoring in the centre-back area. Man United and Crystal Palace have just always had that sort of link, haven't we?
Yeah, it's
Wan-Bissaka.
They've had good kind of youth development there, haven't they? At Crystal Palace. But yeah, we do definitely have them kind of links. But I mean, at the risk of sounding like I'm talking down on Crystal Palace, when Manchester United come calling for you, there's a massive difference, between the two clubs. Yes, they're both Premier League clubs, but for somebody like an Elise, it's a no-brainer. Even Wan-Bissaka, to an extent, when he signed for United, you don't have to think about that twice, do you? The scale of the clubs.
Wan-Bissaka might end up back there. That's the rumour.
Could do.
Because there is a strong chance. Man United are looking at Mark Gahey. They are. I don't think he's a first choice, but he's on the list. Michael Elise is definitely a hot prospect for the summer for Man United. I think we will sign him, to be honest. But when you look at the centre-backs, I would say I think we'll end up going with Todibo and Branthwaite, depend on the price we can get for Branthwaite. But I think Mark Gahey is definitely one that's in the mix as well to look at. So
do you think Varane would go this summer then?
He will go, yeah.
You think, yeah?
He'll go.
I'm just trying to work out, you kind of centre-back, because it comes down to then, again, United trying to move on players. Will they have the conversation with a Harry Maguire, who's done well this season, but I think we know that long-term, he's never going to be a first team. If you can get a Branthwaite and whoever else in, they're going to be the centre-back pairing that could be at Manchester United for the next kind of 10 years, and that's what you want to build at the back. Yeah,
I think Lindelof, it might be time for him to exit this summer. We'll have to wait and see. Got some more super chats in. Paul Thompson says we need a hard-working winger to come in like Valencia. Oh, loved Valencia.
What a player.
Love Valencia so much. Do you know what my brother said to me the other day? He said, all this talk about us getting Elise for 60 million. He said we should go and buy Frimpong for 34 and play him on the wing. because he's doing so well as like a right wing back.
His numbers are insane this season for Leverkusen, yeah.
And he just keeps moving further and further forward. Like he generally could be a right winger. Yeah. He said you'd save like what 30 odd million, and I thought interesting stuff.
Yeah.
My brother's shout
like
there. Thiago Brown says Beth Elise for 60 million, make it 230 on right wing purchases, 100 million for Anthony. If we get him and it doesn't work out, Ten Hag has to be scrutinised. In my opinion, not a priority. I mean, Anthony was 86 million, I think it was. It wasn't 100. But yeah, we've spent ridiculous on right wingers. Sancho's another one. Obviously, wasn't Ten Hag signing, but somebody who hasn't worked out for one way or another. I still think he's super talented, but hasn't worked out. Obviously, we had the issues. We didn't pay for him, but the issues with Greenwood on the right wing. And we've had issues on the right wing for a long time. I think I get what you mean. It's not a priority, and I would have loved to see Ahmad at least get a chance so we could judge whether we did need to go into that market. But when you tell me that Greenwood and Sancho are gone, and Ten Hag reluctantly plays Ahmad, like it is a priority. You can't just have Anthony there.
No,
and as much as Garnacho's done well there, Garnacho prefers the left. Like he's more of he should probably be competing with Rashford. And, you know, he can play on the right, but he's more of a left winger.
That's where it will be a huge summer because, like you say, ideally you want two very good players in each position. You know, Mourinho did that when he first went to Chelsea. You know, he had two top players in each position and healthy competition for, you know, fighting for places and that. We don't have that. You know, you look at the bench that you've just named, you know, that we're putting out this evening. We are down to the bare bones, so that's just what we have to go with.
Yeah, it's one of them. It's one of them situations where we are absolutely decimated. But hopefully we can see back against the walls. We see some commitment. We see some fight tonight. And you know, a lot of people, like you said, have been asking for a change in that midfield. And you know, we've got it tonight, and we'll see how it works out. Got another super chat in here from Merch, a member for 22 months. Up the Kev army. Love that. Love that. Everyone, make sure you go and check out the Kev road trips as well. Love them. Absolutely love them. But Kev, lastly, players to watch. You went with Rasmus Højlund as your pick. I
have purely down to the fact I just want to see him get a little run of form from now until the end of the season. I think if you're looking ahead to a cup final, you need your better players to be on it. I think he's like any striker, you need goals. You know, confidence comes with that and breathes through it. And I'm just hoping, I know he did score one kind of recently, but the players in and around him again, I do find it frustrating sometimes just to see that players aren't picking him out or just making the wrong decisions. So if they can just get their head up today, you know, and look for Højlund, because he's still making them runs. But again, that's what I'm just looking towards the end of the season now. I'm thinking if he can, you know, get back on the goal trail, hopefully we can have a good end to the season.
Yeah, I would love Rasmus to get a bit more opportunity today. I think it's going to, again, be a tough ask.
Oh, it will be.
At Crystal Palace, they've got good centre-backs, they've got a good defensive line. Højlund has struggled a little bit recently. It'll be interesting to see how things work in a side that probably is more possession-based in terms of the midfield of Mainoo, Eriksen and Mount are all quite, you know, players who can keep possession. Will we retain the ball more? Will Crystal Palace dominate us? You know, when playing away from home this season, it's been slim pickings for Rasmus a lot of the time. Even playing at home, it's been slim pickings, but away from home, it's been proper slim pickings, and teams have dominated us. You know,
he's been
lower
overplayed.
half the table teams as well,
No shadow of a doubt. You know, the fact we haven't got a backup or anybody there. I know, obviously, Ten Hag this week, or the interview with Gary Neville mentioned that he wanted a Harry Kane, but he's right in what he says, Erik Ten Hag, because we brought in this player for the future. The only thing is, I'm sure Erik Ten Hag would have loved somebody else to be there, not fighting him for his spot, but at least somebody as a backup, which would have been huge. Because Højlund, without a shadow of a doubt, I don't think Ten Hag probably planned on playing him as much as he has this season, but he's had to because, again, you know, you look at the money that we spent on him, but for his development, he's kind of starting every week, but he needs some help.
Oh, yeah, massively.
He's a young lad, you know.
Be interested to see if Mount can find him today. Yeah, playing in that role. It's going to, because I think the last time I can remember them properly playing together when they linked up was in the Champions League back in maybe against Galatasaray. I can't even remember now.
Going back a long time.
It's tough because Mark's been out of the team for so long. So Rasmus, just hope he gets some opportunity tonight. Just hope he gets a little bit of opportunity. Of course, there's good stuff he needs to work on. Like you say, he massively needs another striker in training.
Yeah.
Like he just needs a bit of competition as well. We need other options, of course. You can never just have one striker, but I hope he gets a bit of service tonight, and hopefully he can kick on with the FA Cup final coming up as well. It's all getting informed for that FA Cup final now for me as well.
That's why I keep saying, you know, this should be an audition for that final now. So what better motivation do these players need? You know, they should be doing it for the fans, the travelling fans, whatever, that are going to the Sellers Park tonight. They should be doing it for themselves anyway. But, you know, look at that final, and, you know, you need somebody like a Mason Mount now. What an opportunity for him. What happens now if he, you know, has an absolute worldie this evening, carries that on, you know, next week against Arsenal, plays really well again? It gives Ten Hag a headache, but a nice headache to have.
Absolutely. And that is why Mason Mount was my player to watch. I mean, we spoke about him so much, so I'm not going to go massively into detail because we've already spoke so much about him. But when I knew Bruno was out before we started the build-up show, I thought my player to watch has to be Mason Mount.
Yeah, everyone
knows how much of an advocate I was for bringing him in because I think he's a good player. Don't know what Ten Hag's plan is for him. I thought I knew before the start of the season, but it's just not been clear. I hope he plays well. He's been really unlucky with injuries, and yeah, just hope he has a good performance. Corey Lenica says, "Hey Beth, messaged you about the tour. Thank you. I will go and check that afterwards. Thank you for that." HKA says, "Hey Beth, good to have you back from illness. How are you feeling now? Better. Also, you are looking cute today." Thank you very much. It's the sun. It's the sun. I'm absolutely loving the sun out in Manchester, and I'm feeling a lot better now.
We very rarely see the sun in Manchester. Yeah. That's why we get a bit giddy here when it comes out. It's like, woohoo!
We get a bit excited. But yeah, thank you very much. I'm feeling a lot better. Mike Thomas says, "Kev has the most symmetrical beard I've ever seen. What do you use to groom it?"
Manscaped. What a plug, yeah.
Nice compliment, that.
Yeah, it was.
Nice
I'm sure that I was waiting for the rest of you to read the rest out. I thought there must be something else there. Nobody ever pays me a compliment.
Oh, well,
I get dogs abuse me, man.
No, you don't, Kevin. Everyone loves you. Eric Malcolm with a super chat. Thank you very much. And Ultimate TNT Gamer says, "Beth, I have a feeling either we win or we're going to get smashed 4 or 5-0. Don't have a good feeling about this one."
I have a feeling we're going to win or we're going to get
smashed 4 or 5-0.
Right.
Yeah, so no draw in store for us tonight, according to
we're winning or losing.
You. We're either winning or getting smashed up. Well, on to score predictions. Get your score predictions down below. We started off the show pretty negative. Don't know why. It always happens on the build-up show.
It's happened to me. I know what you're going to say.
By the end of the build-up, you start off like before we started the show. I said like we're going to get beat like 2-3-0. Now I'm thinking, you know what, we might get a result.
Do you know what it is though? Because now we obviously know the team, so in your head, you're kind of looking and then you're thinking, all right, Evans, Casemiro, centre-back. You know, we've kind of got away with the Maguire, Casemiro thing for a few games or whatever. But then you look at the Mason Mount situation and, I'm in that mode because earlier on when I got here, I put in, and I'm very optimistic, but I just couldn't see any way that United kind of won this game. But now that I've sat here and started to, do you know what? It's just my game head. It really is, isn't it? You know, where your mind overrules, or your heart overrules your head or whatever. I'm certainly not betting on it, though.
Tell you what, Mateta scares me, though, up front for them. He can bully players. And
they're a good team, and they're going through this new manager bounce thing. You know, prior to the last result, they won 3 on the bounce. Who did they beat? They beat Liverpool, was one of them. West Ham, was it Newcastle? So they are actually playing really well, yeah.
They've been doing really well.
And from a United fan's point of view, I'm getting bogged down with this, getting giddy now because it's match day, and probably I'm going to change my prediction now thinking we're going to win. But at the same time, I think, why? Because these players just let us down every single week, and we keep turning up expecting a different outcome, but it's just always the same.
Yeah, beat Liverpool at Anfield 1-0, beat West Ham 5-2, beat Newcastle 2-0, drew with Fulham at Craven Cottage 1-1. Now it's the time.
Yeah, them 3 results. So, you know, a run of 3 games there where you, as a Crystal Palace fan, you probably would have looked and thought, you know, when you ask that question, out of a possible 9, how many do you think you'd get? You certainly wouldn't expect 9 out of them.
Well, quickly, Kev, score prediction.
2-1 United. I'm flipping it round. I don't mind saying that before I got here, I said 2-1 to Crystal Palace, but
I'm going to go with 1-1. 1-1 Manchester United and Crystal Palace. Michael Latana, thank you for your super chat. Mark is now live. Go and infiltrate the chat with just simply the number 7 for Mason
it's got to be
Mount.
something to do with Mount, yeah. Definitely.
Money Mace or the number 7, go and infiltrate the chat. Before you do that, please hit a like on the video. We will be joined afterwards, after Mark's final score. We'll be live from the studio for the fan forum. Me, Kev, Ricky and Maud. You won't want to miss it. Hopefully, Man United can do something that not a lot of people are expecting, which is win a game of football tonight. Thank you for watching, everyone, and we'll see you on the next one.